I'm Michael Paluska. After our interview last year with Deborah Dorbert, a few days later, she gave birth to her son, Milo, who only lived for 94 minutes. She told me she fell into a deep depression with thoughts of suicide. We were never able to follow up with her and talk to her about what happened after. Well, she's doing a lot better today. She's strong enough to tell her story, and we have to warn you, some of the content is difficult to listen to, and it could trigger some people.
I'm afraid for all women going through this.
In 2022, Deborah Dorbert and her husband Lee were excited to welcome a new baby to the world. Ultrasounds all looked normal, but a fatal congenital disorder called Potter syndrome shattered it all, a condition usually detected at the earliest between 12 and 18 weeks. Yeah, the last time I interviewed you, you were planning a birth and a funeral all within an hour, and now you're not pregnant, you've lived through it, it's been a year. Lee, how has this impacted the family?
We've just become numb to everything and going through that of holding our child as he, took his last breath.
You feel helpless as a mom, laying there in bed, and you're holding this child, and you know he is suffering, and he's in pain. But there was nothing anyone could do but to let him live for those 94 minutes, which is, traumatizing, because, I always tell my son, it is my job as a mother to keep him safe and to love him. And I loved that child, but I felt like I couldn't keep him safe. And you just felt hopeless because you knew he was suffering.
I see the photo of you holding Milo. Lee, what was going through your mind in that moment, knowing the inevitable was going to happen within minutes?
All I could focus on in that moment was singing to him, trying to make him and let him know that he was loved, and essentially holding him and, watching him gasp as he was trying to breathe, knowing that he was struggling to breathe and only imagining what that could feel like.
Because how do you tell a 4-year-old child that his sibling's gonna die?
Dorbert now using her voice to try and heal, testifying in front of Congress in Broward County at the House Democratic field hearing on reproductive freedom.
And on March 3rd, I got induced and had a baby boy. I held him in my arms, and he passed away 94 minutes later.
But when you hear testimony like what Deborah Dorbert gave you and what she's told me during interviews, do you think it will have an effect on anyone watching her story?
I do. I don't know how anyone with a heart could listen to Deborah's story and not have it break on her behalf and not be moved.
U.S. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz in Florida's 25th District asked Dorbert to share her heartbreaking story.
Unfortunately, the anti-abortion extremists in this state have created a wild west of chaos and have thrown families like Deborah's and patients like Deborah and many other patients whose stories we've heard to the wolves and left them on their own.
Being pro-life, I would like the mom to carry to natural death.
That was the position of a pro-life advocate we interviewed for our first report in 2023.
Every baby should have the dignity to be able to be comforted in the loving arms of their parents.
Was that your experience, that you were happy that you brought the child to term, or would you have liked to have induced sooner?
I personally would have liked to have been induced sooner. As I still have those nightmares, flashbacks of, after he was born and my OB handing me a baby boy, and he just blue and cold, didn't open his eyes, didn't cry, and she put him on my chest, and I remember that first sound, which I knew was him gasping for air. And those are images I can't get out of my head. I started getting into deep depression and suicidal thoughts and anxiety.
Do you think if you had had the abortion that you wouldn't be as impacted now because of what you witnessed, what you saw, what you went through?
Yes.
I'm just hoping he felt all the love that I give him. wherever he is in this world, because I feel like his energy has to be still out there, that, he doesn't feel pain.
In Tampa with photojournalist Reed Moeller, Michael Paluska, ABC Action News.